All right, thank you for taking the time to review the L9 Component Manager. In this video, we're going to walk through the creation of several categories. So you can see over here in our screen that we are on the main page of L9. I've already logged in at this point, and if you are interested in how to log in or to get more detail about the setup, please do check out our video on the installation. But nevertheless, we're going to continue over here. I am logged in as an administrator, and I'm going to click into My Account, Admin Area. This is going to allow me to get into the System Management, and here in System Management is where we can create the categories. So this is not something that is trivial. It's something that you want to discuss with your colleagues to make sure that everybody agrees as to the different types of categories. They can be created as necessary. However, once you've created one, you can delete it, but if you try to delete it, unfortunately, anything that has already been added to that particular category, especially components, is going to be completely deleted as well. So you want to be smart about how you handle your category management. All right, with that being said, I'm going to click on Category Management. And now you can see over here that we can add a category. Well, we've already got our display up over here, so we can start with that. The first one I'm going to create is the most typical category that most people want, and that's going to be a resistor. So what I'm going to do over here is deal with the naming convention of the category, but I'm also going to deal with the part number capability of L9 as well. One of the things that is needed for any database that you deal with, and this is L9 included, is you really have got to have a unique ID, and L9 will handle that type of thing for you. It simply just needs to know what kind of format that you want to use for that. So the category name I'm going to go with here is resistors, and then it's going to ask for a prefix for this part number and also some additional information if I want it as well. So I can actually have this number broken into 3 different aspects to create this unique ID. Of course, the postfix numbering is going to be the one that's going to get incremented as we go along. As I'm doing this over here, take a look at the example over here above where it says example CPN. That means category part number or company part number. For the category, you can see this is the example here, but as I change information in here, this is going to update. So for example, if I want to put in res and I tab down or click off of that, you'll see that up here that category has now been changed. So we can see an example as we're putting this together. Some companies do have a very special coding system. Not only do they want to have something like res, but they also have different types of resistors, and they may have some type of numeric code for each one of them. So for example, if I wanted to have this, and this gets fixed in as a part of the name here, let's say that resistors happen to be category 101, I can put 101 in there as well. And again, when I tab off of it, you can see that. If I want to put a space or want to put a dash, I can do that as well. I can click in there and add that in. So there is some flexibility in coming up with these category part numbers. For most of us, really the simplest thing to do is just type in maybe 3 or 4 letters that represents that, and then let the rest of the separator and the postfix numbering handle the rest of that particular naming convention. Again, this is just strictly a unique ID. There's other information that you can look up in order to get the right resistor anyways. The second part of this over here is the actual part naming itself. And so again, we will see some examples over here. Now in L9 does provide an example for a resistor, and it provides an example for a capacitor because they tend to have a lot more values than other types of components. If we select another type of component, it's going to basically look for a manufacturer's name and a manufacturer's number, and I'll demonstrate that after I'm done creating this particular category. So you can see over here I've got resistor, so I'm going to take resistor for this particular example. The part prefix name is going to be RAS. Here's its value, its tolerance, and its footprint. So what's going to happen here is that this is going to become the name of it. And what's kind of nice about this is the way that this works is that it's okay to have duplicate names because we actually have a specific company part number set up over here. So in your library, when you're looking for it, what's neat about this is that you're going to be able to see all of these resistors with these values, and if they happen to have the exact same thing, that's okay because again, there is a different unique ID that represents those, which allows that to happen. So you can have all of your options out there at the same time, and you can look at the different resistors that actually do have the exact same type of characteristics to them. I'm going to leave the rest of these alone. As a matter of fact, there's not a whole lot I can change here. The value, the tolerance, and footprint are locked in here. The only thing I could possibly change is the prefix, but I'm going to leave that alone. That's all I need to do with this, and I can click on Submit. I have now submitted this. At the very top, you'll see that category added successfully, and I can press OK. The screen is going to refresh over here for me, and what we can see now is we can see my new category. It's called resistors. I can see my prefix, and I can see my postfix over here as well. If I want to make a few changes to this, I can. I can hit the little pencil icon to this, and I'm going to see the edit category come over here above. For this category to be seen, there's just a little thing that we can simply do. For the add category, we can cancel this and we can make it visible. So we can get to this particular screen if I want to make a change to that. But just remember, these are things that you want to do ahead of time, because once that you get things rolling over here, it's going to have a monumental impact in the way everything's going to look. So make sure you get this set up right the first time. Just to show what it looks like, and then we'll come back here and we'll add a category for an IC. If I hit my large L9 button here on the top left corner, it'll bring us back over to the main page. Now you can see that we have our new category called resistors. And if we click in it over here, we can see basically the category all its own. Now we don't have any parts in it at this point in time. I'll show that in the next video to show how we can easily enter parts into the L9 system. Let's go back and add one more category to this here. I'm going to go into the My Accounts page, admin area. And again, I'm going to go into system management. And I'm also going to go into category management. So again, we do see our existing resistor category here. I can hit this button here saying add category, but it's already been prompted here for me to set up the next category. And I'm going to call this ICs. And the prefix for this one will be IC. And again, I'm not going to add anything over here as a kind of a sub or middle part of that particular part number. I'm going to leave the rest of this postfix alone as is. Now for the part naming, we're not dealing with a resistor here. I want to deal with another type of device because we're not dealing with resistors or capacitors. So I'm going to click on other. And you can see that this got changed up over here. So if I do want to have a different prefix, I can. I'm going to call this IC. And I'm also going to put a dash in there as well. So that's going to always be my prefix. And the rest of it over here is always going to be based on the part manufacturer and the part manufacturer's part number. And that's how we're going to handle these other categories. And again, it makes it a little bit easier to look for things, especially when you do get into ICs or into other parts where you really can't just give the characteristics like a resistor or a capacitor. And I'm going to simply hit submit, and this will now have been added. So again, we see the top here where the category has been added successfully. And I'll click on this over here. So we have ICs, and we now have resistors. Again, if I hit this button on the top left corner for L9, we can now see the resistors category and the ICs category. In our next video, what I'll do is I'll add components to both of these. I'll use Octopart to do that. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you in our next video.